ورحمة الله وبركاته.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, my name is Ghurur Abdel Wahid, the official spokesperson of pre-university education at Qatar Foundation. We'd like to welcome you to this special education city speaker series بالعربي, which is being hosted now at the Education City at Qatar Foundation. So at Qatar Foundation, everything starts with education. It is a long life journey that does not stop. It is full of creativity and innovation. We have the honor to present to you a leading personality in the field of education. She is now delineating the future of education in the state of Qatar and also reinforces a legacy for the coming generations. We'd like to welcome Her Excellency, Mrs. Buthaina bint Jabr Nuaimi, Minister of Education and Higher Education.
يسعدنا وجودكم معنا.
We are pleased to have you with us, and we are very much looking forward to this panel discussion, and we would like to start with your intervention. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, may the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. I have the pleasure to talk to you here in the speaker series of Education City, which has become since 2018 a platform for dialogue, exchange of knowledge and discussion, where we would like to talk about our future vision for education in order to prepare a future generation that would have all the skills and tools for sustainable development. First of all, we'd like to underline that education prior to COVID was different from what was after the pandemic. And we can tell from the different meetings that have been convened that there is a belief that entails that we have to reconceptualize the system of education. So education has to change after the pandemic, which has become a reality. We are part of this world. We get impacted and we impact other countries. That is why this idea has become a real need, and we can only adopt this idea in order to move forward and to set the different strategies that would enable us to overcome the negative impacts of the pandemic on global education in the last 2 years. Let's take you in a journey. So in September, we're going to have the Education Transformation Summit in New York, and we have taken part in the preparatory meeting that took place in Paris. And the state of Qatar has led the consultative meeting from the Arab region and West Asia with our partners in development and also in cooperation with the UNESCO and the UNICEF. Also, we set the different viewpoints of countries and partners in the region in order to set the different pivotal questions when it comes to the transformation of education, the different components that need change in order to rub shoulders with the changes that are taking place in the region. And due to the fact that it is very important to have all partners taking place, and we have had the consultative meeting that included in excess of 50 agencies, and that included the different agencies in cooperation with the UNESCO and the UNICEF. And we have discussed many basic issues, including what is related to our discussion today, talking about national, local identity, Qatari identity, and also digital transformation, the support of educators, the reinforcement of higher education in order to meet the requirements of the job market. Our national consultations had a very important impact on the level of discussions that have taken place. So digital transformation was one of the most important topics, and the ministry has been keen, since the beginning of the pandemic, has been keen to develop an electronic education system, particularly after the phase whereby our students were studying from home. And that is why we set a strategy based on initiatives and also a number of indicators whereby we would be able to gauge the impact on educators and students. And we have set a number of objectives that would raise their capabilities and also inquisitiveness from the part of students, and also to adapt to electronic learning. As for the objectives of our educators is to enable them and empower them when it comes to digital learning, and also to get to know the latest developments when it comes to technologies, and also to reinforce quality of education. And one of the most important goals, it has become incumbent on us to set policies in order to protect our students and also to protect them and protect their identity, particularly if we look into account the unprecedented flow of data and information, and also our Islamic religion, our culture and Arabic language. These are the most important pillars when it comes to the building of our culture and identity that is deeply rooted in our community. Despite the fact that education is one of the most important pillars in our country, and this has been the case for in excess of 70 years, but our curricula try to reinforce and instill many values such as national, ethical, personal, and so on and so forth, in order to reinforce the identity of the homeland, of the nation, in keeping with clear-cut plans in cooperation with many institutions to make our children proud of their traditions, cultures, and to respect the other, irrespective of his or her language, religion, color, and so on. So the future is not limited to the knowledge that we should require. So that is why we concentrated on the development of 21st century skills from a knowledge perspective, and also to reinforce creative thinking and also innovation, creativity that would make them able to seamlessly move into higher education, adaptation, and join the job market regionally and internationally, knowing the needs of the future. Also, we met with the different partners and stakeholders in order to reinforce the strategy that we would like to underline in the following 8 years, and also to achieve Qatar National Vision 2030. We agreed, all of us, that we have to have 4 basic components. The student, who is at the heart of these directives, and also students should have the knowledge, the flexibility, the passion and creativity. The educator, the model that should be emulated, that develops himself or herself continuously. Third, the school, which should be an attractive ecosystem that continuously develops, because it is the second home for the student. If he does not feel a sense of belonging to that location, it would be very difficult to develop. Also, we have the ministry that would be an administrative and an executive component that would attract educational capabilities and also preserve them. Ladies and gentlemen, education is a social and a humane process to build an effective human and citizen that would contribute to the dissemination of beauty, justice, and also virtues. Let's work together to keep this torch of education ever continuing, and I would like to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to talking to you through this platform. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Thank you very much for all these valuable pieces of information. Before we start with the panel discussion, I would like to tell you that we have the translation service and also sign language service. I would like to start with the first topic, which is the digital education strategy. So educational systems worldwide have faced many challenges, which made it incumbent on educational leaders to reshuffle this process. Your Excellency, the Minister, can we summarize the different challenges that the world educational system faces and the state of Qatar in particular when it comes to the challenges of education? So when we talk about this system, it is a branched out system and the challenges are so many. That is why we have set the 4 pillars where there are opportunities, challenges, and so on. If we talk about the students, so we have to reinforce and increase the level of learning and the development of the personality of the student, and there are challenges. The second pillar is the educator, who is the basis of this process, and also we have to reinforce the quality of the educator. If we look at the attraction of talented educators and also to have continuous education and also to be able to keep those educators where they are. The fourth component is the school. It is supposed to be a supportive ecosystem that would motivate the student to continue learning, not only when it comes to academic acquisition, but also from a social, psychological, and mental perspectives. So how can we create this environment to meet the different needs of our students? The last point is the family partnership in this process. The family plays a pivotal role in this process. That is why it is very important for them to continue communicating with the school. Very frankly, the educational system in the state of Qatar has shown a lot of flexibility and resilience, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the light of dealing with these challenges, does the ministry prepare policies or perhaps initiatives, educational initiatives that are in keeping with the national aspirations and global aspirations? And what are the efforts by the ministry? If we look back again to the 4 pillars, the students, the school, the educator, and the ministry, we have launched 4 initiatives that are in keeping with each and every component. So the student, we have launched an initiative, My School, My Community, which is a multi-sectoral initiative, and it concentrates on the creation of a supportive ecosystem for students to develop on 4 pillars when it comes to acquisition on the social level and also the mental and physical health and so on. So this is one of the initiatives of Madrasati Mujtama'i, which is My School, My Community. And also we have another initiative related to educators, which is بداية موفقة, which is a successful beginning. So for the new graduates, so when you graduate and you enter the job market, you need to be prepared. So this is a 1-year program that would prepare educators through mentors that would work with new educators for them to join the educational system successfully and seamlessly. The third initiative is towards distinction. So we have looked at different schools. Each school has its own challenges, difficulties, and issues. So each school would set a plan. It would delineate a plan for the school, taking into account the challenges and difficulty it faces for it to be able to move ahead. And of course, course, reinforce the level of learning. The fourth initiative, which is in keeping with the ministry, so this is an initiative which is the leaders of school change. So here we have representatives from the ministry that work with schools in order to lead this change in all the other initiatives. So all the initiatives that we have heard are beautiful, but how are they implemented on the ground? How was it reflected in the schools, educators, parents, and students? These are very, very new initiatives that have been launched 2 to 3 weeks ago. So we are in the process of defining these initiatives, and also we are in the process of capacity building. So we have shared the plans and the reasons that have led us to choose such initiatives as the first initiatives to be launched by the Ministry of Education. We have to say that we have spent 1 year assessing the educational system. That is why it was very important to know the starting point. And based on this assessment, we were able to come up with 13 initiatives in order to solve the basic challenges in the system, 4 of which have been launched. But these initiatives are going to start from today until the end of the 2030 strategic plan. We're talking about the coming 8 years. So this is part of a larger plan that would lead to transformations in the educational system. The second topic is to reinforce the capabilities of students. Students are not only seeking a degree or a certificate. This is not enough for him or her to enter the job market. The digital world has become part and parcel of our world. It is expected that our students would have a contribution to this field, which is the digital field, in different aspects. We find that there are so many schools that try to review and revisit the curricula they have in order to make them in keeping with the requirements of the job market. Are we going to see such a thing in our schools? So this initiative has not been launched till date. So this is one of the initiatives that we are working on. So talking about future skills, where we're going to concentrate on the skills of the future job market, technological, cultural skills, and also skills of social communication, communication in general, all what is required by students for them to be prepared and be successful in the higher education level, and also to be successful once they join the job market. So the program is still in the planning phase, in the nursery slopes phase, and we're going to work on that in order to close any gaps that might arise in the performance of our students. And this is going to be included in our curricula in a number of summer camps or camps that would be convened during the different vacations. We have a limited number of progressive schools. Are we going to see additional progressive schools? And what makes such schools different from others in the state of Qatar? This is a pioneering idea where modern ideas, developed ideas are being implemented. But personally speaking, I believe in the importance of adding progressive ideas and practices in all schools, and not to have them limited to a particular number of schools which are progressive schools. In my view, the future is for everybody. Advancement is for everybody, and therefore this entails that it should be part of all schools. Many parents believe in education outside classes. Do you have any efforts in this regard? Yes, in the last 2 years, the different activities that we have had at school have been very limited due to COVID-19 procedures. But now we have a number of activities that are going to be available during the working or school hours or outside those school hours, in partnership with different institutions in the state, including the Ministry of Sports and the Youth, Ministry Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Family Affairs. So there are going to be many programs that are going to be present and available. The third point is going to talk about national identity and cultural identity in our educational curricula. So this is the nucleus of our educational system. So our curricula in the state of Qatar has set a new model that starts from the roots and also rub shoulders with the requirements of modern education. In this regard, the Ministry of Education and Higher Education has announced a document whereby it would be revisiting the different curricula in order to make sure that they are not in isolation or not in conformity with our culture. We have to say that the values are part of our education. And as I said in my opening speech, this is part and parcel of our educational system. At the level of the ministry, we issue policies and also the guidelines and many aspects that are related to this matter, including the curricula framework and also the standards that should be followed by educators and educational leaders, the sources of education. These should be reviewed and to make sure that are in keeping and adequate for the community. All these components are available, but it is very important to reinforce and build the personality of the student and to reinforce also critical thinking, because the student should take part in such a responsibility to judge for him or her to have a reference based on which he or she would say, is this in keeping with my values, my religion, and so on. We have to instill such things in our students since the beginning and not only rely on the policies. You mentioned, Your Excellency, responsibility. So responsibility of the students, but do you think that the community, the parents, the media, how can we make all these components part of such a responsibility? As I have mentioned before, so education is a common responsibility. Each and every agency has a role to play, and this is not only limited to our identity, it goes beyond the identity to cover all aspects of education, including the activities, including also reading, including also social responsibility. When we talk about building a personality, this is not just the responsibility of the school, the educators, the institutions, all of them have a role to play. And now I would like to talk about reading, but before that I would like to share an anecdote. I am very proud to be one of the students that have graduated from the educational system, and of course amongst the things that have made me love education and be keen to read is that I have been continuing in this reading process since I was 2 years old. My family used to encourage me to read, to speak and use the Arabic language. I have been covering many topics, and the school also played a very important role. I used to get the Queen of Reading Prize, and also I used to read a number of books during each and every term. But the challenge has become much bigger because books have changed. Now we have digital books, we have iPads, we have computers and PCs. So how can we reinstill the love of books, the love of reading among students? So, as I have said, in recent years, many like you have graduated, and we are very proud to continue with the different successful practices. If we look at the ministry and the schools, there is an abundance when it comes to the different educational sources. Maybe they are not as they used to be in the past, because these sources used to be and resources used to be very limited, whether these resources are physical books or electronic books, and also the library is at the heart of the school. We have many resources, many references, and also we have Qatar National Library. This is one of the most important references that we have as well, that supports reading when it comes to all ages. And for us, there are many things that we need to underline. But if we go back to the role of the parents, the role of the parents is is very important indeed. So reading is one of the behaviors or the tradition and practices that are instilled at a very, very early age. And the continuation of such kind of behavior would be very easy if it is instilled at an early age. So that is why the role of parents is very important. And in keeping and in cooperation with the Ministry of Culture, there are a number of activities that urge students to read. And also we have fairs and exhibitions that are not only limited to the annual book fair. Last, what is the new framework for the Sustainable Development Plan 2030? As I have mentioned before, we are currently working on preparing this plan, and we see that this plan should be an 8-year plan for us to be able to achieve the 2030 vision. We have launched 4 initiatives, and there are still a number of initiatives that are going to be launched in the coming years. All these initiatives are going to base on the 4 pillars that I have mentioned at the beginning: the student, the educator, so this is the best investment ever, the school and the ministry. And also we are keen that everybody participates in such initiatives because it is the responsibility of everybody. I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, for these answers. And now I would like to give the floor to the distinguished guests with us and also the questions and queries over social media platforms. So let's start with a question I have here from one of the social media platforms. Your Excellency the Minister, how does the Ministry of Education work on attracting Qatari educators, reinforce their skills and capabilities? The Ministry plays great efforts in this regard, and as I have mentioned, the Qatari educator goes through 3 phases, which is the attraction of the educator, and we have طموح, which is ambition. This is a program that is dedicated to graduates from high schools to join the ministry, the universities that teach education. And from 2011 till date, we have had in excess of 1,200 educators, and we still have many programs that support this system. And we have also Tamheen. This is another program that is dedicated to persons that are specialized in other fields other than education, but are keen to join the educational system. This is a training program that lasts 1 year, where we would enable those graduates to join the educational system. We have another initiative, لأجل Qatar, for the sake of Qatar or for Qatar. We have the Training and Development Center at the Ministry of Education and Higher Education, and also we have a training center at the level of Qatar University, and we have the EDI Center at the level of Qatar Foundation. All of them contribute to the educational system. Let's look at the ladies and gentlemen present with us here. If they have any questions, there is a lady over here. If you can give her the microphone, please. May the peace and blessings of God, the gentleman, sorry. Your Excellency the Minister, we're very happy to have you with us. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. My name is Qasim from Al-Awsaj Academy. We're very happy that Qatar Foundation and Qatar National Library have given us this opportunity to meet with Her Excellency the Minister. This is a good step. This is a number of things that I would like to pose. You talked about the most important pillars that you talked about, the 4 pillars, and I would like to concentrate on the educator. So since I am an educator who taught in Great Britain, who taught in Doha, I have noticed that there is always a difference or disagreement with regard to the effort required from the educator, the level of effort that would impact the quality of education. In Great Britain, Britain, they are trying to reach the level that has been achieved by Scandinavian schools. So where is the state of Qatar when it comes to this component? And any initiative that you would like to present that would be of use for educators? This is the first question. The second question, what is the most important idea, concept that you can launch in order to prepare leaders in the Qatari community? And may the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Thank you very much. With regard to education, everybody understands and knows the importance of such a profession. This is not an easy profession, and this is something that all educational systems believe in. If we look at the state of Qatar in particular, I think that the pressure comes as a result of the will to bridge the gap that we have when it comes to reinforce and raising the level of acquisition. If we look at the educator, we are amongst the high end. If we look at the annual effort or the year, we are within the global standards. So we thank your efforts. We understand the difficulties. We understand the efforts, and we do support you in this regard. And there is a thing that we worked on, which is to alleviate administrative pressure on the educator, because the most important aspect for us is the contact time between the educator and the student. This is something that is going to be reformulated, revisited, for us to be able to have an optimum use of the time of the educator and the student in order to have activities that would be very much useful for our students. So when we talk about the building of leaders, the building of humans is not easy. And this is something that starts from a kindergarten level up until the university level. This is a strategic effort that would require continuous steps to be undertaken. It requires consistency and also concerted efforts made by different parties. That is why it is very important to have a common vision, to know what the traits and attributes of the educator and what is the attributes, what are the attributes of a student that we want to graduate from our system. We had a question. If we can give her the lady the microphone, please. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. My name is Safana, graduated from the education university. Your presence here gives me a great deal of support. Since I haven't joined the field yet as an educator, I would like to comment on what Ghurur had said, talking about reading. I would like to talk about this topic as a mother. I have instilled a habit in my children. I hope that all mothers would do that 1 hour before sleeping. Reading stories is a great thing, but give your child a book that falls in the realm of his or her interest, even if he or she does not know how to read. Being able to hold a book before bedtime, this is going to enable him or her to love education, because he or she would be immersed in this experience more than in an iPad or any other kind of gadget. My question, is there a plan to support mothers? Because a mother is a 50% assistant to the educator or teacher. Is there a plan in your educational system to have dialogue and integration between mothers and educators, teachers, for mothers to be motivated in order to support this educational system? And I would like to thank you, Your Excellency the Minister and Sister Ghurur. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy and I'm very, very proud of your interest. Reading is a very important thing. So you're going to make me talk about all 13 initiatives. Yes, it is part of our plans, and this is part of early learning plans, and the importance of reading, particularly at an early age. So early education and the instilling of different social and cultural cultural and sports skills have a very important impact on the making of our children, on the building of the capacity of our children. We have a number of educational and cultural initiatives. So these are initiatives that are very important, and this is not going to be the responsibility only of the Ministry of Education. No, it is going to be a joint responsibility with ministries such as culture and the family. We have another question. So this question is from social media. How important is it to learn outside schools, particularly that there are so many educational digital sources of education, and how can parents observe, control what is happening outside the school? Yes, education can happen anytime, any place, anywhere. So this is not only limited to the class. So the house plays a very important role, home, where we are. Also, we have the cultural institutions and the libraries and so on. And the most important thing is to be able to guide and oversee the process, and also to make the student reinforce his long life learning, and also to develop the capabilities of the student, to develop himself, to develop herself, and also to give him and her the opportunity to benefit from all what the educational systems can provide. Definitely, we have the time to take another question from the audience, the dear audience present with us. Microphone, please. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you. So I'm Arabic language coordinator from Doha School. I was honored to have worked in this blessed country since 2014. I would like to commend the efforts made by the ministry when it comes to the Arabic language and the efforts by the state. I have not seen a state issue a law that entails that the Arabic language should be protected, a law for the protection of the Arabic language. I have moved from one school to another, so the schools would monitor, watch the Arabic teachers, how they speak in Arabic, and how the motivation level is very important. Motivation is very important for students and educators. So when a school wants to launch an activity, it can do so. And now I feel that things have become very much codified within a certain system, and some students would not want to take part in certain activities, and students should be motivated mentally and also materially. So is the ministry going to launch something similar or in this regard? Yes, there are a number of initiatives, particularly when it comes to encouraging the Arabic language and reading. So when it comes to material motivation is very important, but also we have to concentrate also on moral, mental motivation, which is science for science sake, knowledge for knowledge sake. So we do not want students only to rely on material levels of motivation. I think this needs to be revisited because we need to strike a balance and going back to the lifelong learning processes and also the activities that should be undertaken. So many activities have been put in to a halt due to the restrictions of the pandemic and so on. One last question, Your Excellency. Many specialist schools dealing with autistic students or students who feel or face difficulties learning, we see and witness an increase in the number of students that join such students. So the students with special needs or with disability is one of the most important dossiers. There are so many efforts, and the most important initiative is the launch of schools that have started in 2017. We have 5 schools that have been launched, and the 6th one is going to be launched soon, and we have been able to enable 70 schools to be able to integrate students in them. But if we go back to the facts that the educational process is a joint responsibility, this entails that the private sector, community agencies, all of these are partners in this process. It seems that we still have some more time and we can take more questions from the audience. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Your Excellency, the Minister, I do commend the efforts when it comes to national identity. Qatar Technical School. My name is Najla Al-Kibisi. We try to instill the national identity through training students for them to be ready for the job market in order to increase the level of Qatarization in keeping with the 2030 agenda. We instill this identity in all specializations at the level of our Qatar Technical School. Thank you for sharing this experience. One of the initiatives is to share experiences and to have learning communities. So the development process should not only from the ministry to schools, but also from the school to the ministry and between and amongst schools. Thank you for sharing this idea. Go ahead, sir. Microphone, please. Ahmed Al-Mansour. I'm an educator. I would like to thank you for the initiatives. We are very, very happy for these initiatives. So my question is about making private schools take part in these initiatives, how far they are part of programs that are dedicated to national values. Is this going to be limited only to national schools or governmental schools? There are initiatives dedicated to government schools, and there are initiatives that are dedicated to private schools, and there are initiatives dedicated to everybody. So this dossier is dedicated to all schools, and you're going to receive all relevant information very soon. Yes, my sister from this side of the room. Yes, go ahead, sir. No problem.
راح تترجم لنا السؤال بلغة الإشارة.
May the peace and blessings of God be upon you. My name is Hussein Qahwaji. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for the information that you gave us, Your Excellency the Minister. I was very much proud, and thank you for educating students from the very beginning. We have a problem as when it comes to the curricula. Yes, the state of Qatar has not neglected that, but we have only a diploma that we can get. We hope that we would be able to join universities. First of all, thank you very much for your question, and thank you very much for this translation. Thank you very much for being with us here today. Thank you for your effective participation. Your voice is very important in this process. I am pleased to have your participation. We're going to work on this. We are about to end and complete this process. So we have had 2 students who were able to get the high school certificate, and we are in the process of reviewing this initiative, and it is going to see light very, very soon for students to be able to join university. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. My name is Lamia. Thank God we were able to rejoin school, but we are finding difficulties when it comes to adapting to the duties, the homework. Now we are required to carry out weekly assessments at school, particularly when it comes to this term and in the circumstances just prior to the World Cup. We're supposed to work on 2 projects this month and next month, and this is very, very difficult to achieve that in this very limited period of time. And maybe Your Excellency the Minister, you can help us. So we need to have support in order to adapt to this new reality, because during COVID we were only dealing with the platform, and we used to have 1 project and limited homework through the platform. The situation is different now. Thank you very much. When it comes to the Qatar education platform, it is not only a solution for the learning process during the pandemic. No, it is going to be a very important component. I think that the pandemic has accelerated adaptation to the platform and also has reinforced digital capabilities when it comes to students and educators. The statistics of the platform are very, very interesting. We see the assessments, the also interactions of educators, and also we are very happy with regard to the content that was enriched by the students. When it comes to the duties and projects, there is always a coordination at the level of the schools and also the different topics. So we're going to be able to review that and see how it goes. Yes, go ahead, brother. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Thank you very much, Your Excellency Khalid Boujassoum, a father. Thank you very much for explaining the different initiatives. It's a great effort, and would like also to thank Qatar Foundation for giving us this platform to discuss, to share ideas. I have 1 question. The first question, you talked about progressive education and how this is important, that should not be limited to 1 particular group. So what is the strategy to disseminate this initiative? The second question, so is there going to be a place where we would be able to benefit from the outcomes of the previous efforts? So it seems that maybe I'm partial to such an experience, but we see a number of schools where we see cumulative efforts, and I wanted really to see a scientific study that would look at the outcomes, the different details from Al-Bayan and Omar schools or complex, particularly when it comes to the idea of progressive education. With regard to progressive education, is currently included in a limited number of schools, and at the heart of these schools we have a number of research centers that monitor the different initiatives, study the initiatives, and also after we see the effectiveness of these initiatives, we would like to share these practices with other schools. That is why I was talking about progressive schools and also talked about progressive practices. practices. So these are not limited to a particular school, so we can look at the application of such practices in other schools, how this can be successful, what are the factors that would lead to success, and so on and so forth. So we are very much active in this regard, and we do see that this is shared in different conferences, and we do see train the educators, and we see that students have community participations. They do visit other schools. We are keenly working in order to disseminate these practices in different schools. When it comes to learning from previous experiences, these are still there. Yes, they have changed, they have developed, they have been transformed in the light of the current circumstances. So Omar ibn al-Khattab School is one of the schools that we are very much proud of, and also we have so many things that we take into account. That is why we aim to have a large number of initiatives and programs, diverse programs. So we are in the process of working in this process. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Your Excellency, Jassim Al-Fahd Al-Thani from Qatar Academy Al-Wakra. So 2 years ago, the state of Qatar was ranked first in the MENA region when it comes to the purchasing of the government, when it comes to advanced technologies. So what is the reason behind this interest, and how is this going to contribute to the development of leaders of the future? So the state of Qatar is very much interested in technology. This is not something that is new. So the state of Qatar has adopted electronic learning since 2012, and we have ever since been rubbing shoulders with the different changes. So as you know, we are living in a world that is changing in a speedy way, and the changes in the technological sector is even faster than other sectors. That is why we have had this strategy that we talked about at the beginning of our discussion. Go ahead. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all. Hana Al-Jawhari from Qatar Technical School. We are very much keen and enthusiastic to see the program, which is Maharati Mustaqbali, My Skills, My Future. We're very much passionate to start this initiative. We, as a technical school, we have a number of initiatives, and we see ourselves as students who want to become leaders, who want to be specialized, and of course, so when students want to go through these initiatives, this constitutes a very important challenge. So we're very much looking forward to the initiative. But I have a question, Your Excellency, the Minister. Are we going to deal with this initiative with the different institutions through the schools themselves, or do we need to deal with these agencies through the ministry? So we have not reached this phase. So the initiative is still in the process of building the concepts, but definitely the ministry has partners, and when it comes to having partners, we do not need to go through the ministry. And as part of this initiative, we try to facilitate this process and also reduce the level of bureaucracy in order to limit the things that would slow down the arrival of such service to the user. So we're going to be working on this initiative. Your Excellency, Mrs. Buthaina bint Jabr al-Nuaimi, Minister of Education and Higher Education, thank you very much for joining this panel discussion. And I would like also thank our dear guests and audience. Thank you very much, and looking forward to meeting you again in the very near future. Thank you.